and good afternoon, custodians of knowledge. It is an honor to open the 2025 Knowledge Management Week, which is hosted by our own mother body, UETIA, which is an institution for me that really understands that knowledge is not only what we store in documents, it's also not what we store in systems and repositories, and that knowledge is what lives in people. So my presentation today is going to be bold. It's going to be uncomfortable, and deliberately so, because I do believe that this topic of menopause is long overdue. Our topic is Diary of a Menopause Professional, Managing the Unforeseen Challenges. And what it does is that it forces us to confront a truth that organizations have avoided for far too long. We cannot call ourselves knowledge-driven institutions while ignoring one of the most important and probably the most significant, predictable, as well as impactful transition that is experienced by the very people who carry our organizational memory. So for me, this is not a women's issue. It is not a private matter either. It is a workforce issue. It is a leadership issue, a productivity issue, and certainly a knowledge management issue. And it is time that as organizations, we treated it as such. So in terms of the flow of my presentation, I will first start by illustrating why this masterclass is important. And it's also very important for me to set a context where I speak about the personal transition in the professional spaces. I will then go into detail in terms of navigating professional life during menopause, looking at how knowledge sharing for wellness and inclusion is important for organizations to adopt. I will then look at the strategic adaptation and resilience, looking at gendered knowledge in the workplace. I will end my presentation by giving practical recommendations and then do my closing reflections. So let's start. What we know is that menopause affects millions of women globally, and most during their peak career years. This is the year where they learn to lead teams. This is a year where they start to drive strategy, where they hold institutional memory, where they anchor organizational culture, and where, frankly speaking, ladies and gentlemen, they carry the heaviest workload. Yet we rarely talk about this. We whisper, we minimize, we assume she'll manage. We also ignore the fact that unmanaged menopause symptoms are one of the top reasons why women exit organizations. And when they exit the organizations, they are taking decades of knowledge with them. This is not a personal issue. It is a strategic failure. And today, what I want to do through this masterclass is to rewrite that. So bringing this topic forward, it supports the inclusive workplaces. It supports evidence-based HR and knowledge management practices. It's about talent retention, and it's also about gender-responsive leadership. And this is what we need to bear in mind as we navigate through this process. So let's set a context of personal transitions in the work in the professional places. I read through the research that was conducted by the World Health Organization, and for me, this was mind-boggling. What this research reveals is that over 1 billion women globally will experience menopause. Now let's pause and think about that number. And now think about this. The typical onset of menopause is between the ages of 45 and 55. These are majority of women, or many of them, who sit in senior roles. They hold technical expertise. They drive change within their organizations. But when menopause hits, unpredictably, invisibly, and often violently, and I'm going to underline that, violently, these women are expected to continue performing at their usual standard without acknowledgement or even support. Symptoms affect your sleep quality. They affect your cognitive processing. They also affect our emotional balance and physical discomfort. Hot flashes during high-stake meetings. Brain fog while presenting critical reports. Insomnia before strategic decisions. Unexpected anxiety in leadership spaces. Emotional overload during conflict resolution. But what I want to let you know is that it is not menopause that disrupts performance. It is the silence around it. Workplaces are simply not designed with women bodies in mind. And when a system is not designed for you, you learn to function despite it, quietly, painfully, and often at a great cost. That silence, ladies and gentlemen, is costing institutions talent, it's costing institutions continuity, and it's costing institutions innovation. Why is this a matter in the why does it matter in the workplace? What we have found is that up to 60% of women say symptoms affect work. What we also know is that 1 in 10 of these women leave their jobs because of unmanaged symptoms. It's more pronounced, for instance, in the UK. And the saddest consequence of this is that organizations risk losing experienced professionals at a critical leadership stage. And this is one thing that a lot of us tend to overlook. A critical workforce talent is being lost at a time where organizations need to be retaining it. So how do we then navigate this professional life of menopause? And in illustrating that, I think it's important that we step into the diary of a menopausal a professional. Menopause doesn't politely schedule itself after year-end reports. It doesn't arrive once the biggest project is complete. It doesn't ask permission to interrupt your life. It comes in the middle of everything, in the middle of a performance review, in the middle of a presentation, in the middle of policy negotiations, in the middle of leadership crisis. And for many women, menopause becomes a second full-time job that they never applied for. So there are a lot of dilemmas that professional women face. They face fear of being perceived as less capable, as less consistent, as less resilient. There is pressure to power through rather than seek support. These women are expected to be strategic, to be calm, to be decisive, to be composed, while their bodies are behaving in ways that is shocking even to them. And still they deliver, and still they lead, and still they mentor, and they keep the organizations afloat. So this masterclass for me really honors that invisible labor. that silent resilience. And today, as I stand virtually before you, I am saying enough silence. It's time for understanding. We need to help these women balance home responsibilities with work expectations. And we need to do that in a way that's going to be humane and in a way that's going to be understanding. Let's go on and speak about knowledge sharing for wellness and inclusion. One thing I want to say is that silence is the enemy of progress. When women cannot speak about what they are going through, knowledge remains trapped inside fear, it remains trapped inside shame, and it remains trapped inside isolation. So when we create stigma-free environments, women stop hiding. Colleagues stop misinterpreting symptoms. Managers stop penalizing natural biological transitions. Organizations stop losing value and institutional memory. And teams, ladies and gentlemen, teams become more cohesive, they become more empathetic, and they become more resilient. And this is where knowledgement comes in as a fantastic tool for inclusion. We need to have systems that are going to be people-centered. We need to create a safe dialogue or safe spaces for dialogue. We need to create platforms for exchanging tacit knowledge. We need knowledge cafes. We need peer circles. We need to encourage wellness dialogues. We need to encourage supervisor sensitivity and also create knowledge platforms. And for me, ladies and gentlemen, I don't see these as soft programs. I see them as strategic interventions for organizational health. A knowledgeable workforce is not just informed, it is understood. And this for me is a recipe for success, and it's a recipe for rapid growth in any organization. So what are the strategies that we need to adopt in order to drive resilience within the workplace? What we need to do is we need to redefine resilience. And when I'm talking about redefining resilience, I'm not talking here about the toxic resilience that demands women to push harder, to toughen up, to keep up. But what I'm talking about here is the real resilience that comes from understanding oneself, that comes from pacing oneself, and that comes from receiving institutional support. So what we need is evidence-based tools that will help us remain effective. For me, real resistance or resilience includes designing workflows that honor energy patterns, building rest and recovery, developing coping tools instead of denial tools, partnering with supportive managers, using digital systems that are going to help us supplement cognitive dips. And here is the hard truth with everyone on this masterclass. Women do not burn out because they are weak. They burn out because they are unsupported. If workplaces want a sustainable leadership, they must create the conditions for resilience, and they must not demand it without investment. They must not demand it without investment. So what's the gendered knowledge in the workplace? Let's expand a little bit on that one. Why do gender dynamics matter, specifically for me? I do believe that if we drive gender dynamics, what we are doing is we are basically helping in terms of ensuring that organizations are not finding themselves in an instance where they are misinterpreting performance changes, they are penalizing women unfairly, where they are losing crucial institutional knowledge as a result of doing that. So in terms of that, what we then need to do is we need to ensure that women are supported in many ways than one, and ensure that we're able to drive a space where these women are going to really feel like they are being understood and like they are being made to be part of the overall success of any organization. So what do we need to do? We need to shift workplace culture. We need to ensure that we're able to train managers, training managers on empathetic leadership, training managers on being able to handle sensitive disclosures, and also training them on being able to ensure confidentiality in whatever it is that they are doing. Ensuring confidentiality in whatever it is that they are doing. Now let's move on. We need to make sure that we're able to enhance the leadership lifeline or pipeline. We need to support women in terms of their midlife crisis in order to help in terms of driving leadership continuity, in terms of being able to drive mentorship capacity, as well as representation at executive level. So what are my recommendations? I am recommending 4 very strong yet practical ways in which we can actually help in terms of women navigating this process. The first one, what I believe, forward-thinking organizations, they must, 1, build a menopause-inclusive wellness framework. And I feel that this is as essential as maternity policies and even mental health support. 2, we need to train leaders and managers. For me, sensitivity is not optional. Awareness is not optional. Bias-free support is not optional. It is a must. We need to create knowledge hubs and safe channels. Women should not have to search in shame for answers. We need to make resources accessible, visible, and normalized. We need to ensure that we embed gender wellness into any knowledgement system in any institution. I feel that this is how we will retain strategic talent. This is how we protect institutional continuity. And this is how we walk the talk of transformation and gender equity. For individuals, I also have recommendations. To the women navigating this, you are not alone, ladies. Most importantly, you are not failing. You are simply just transitioning. You do not need to prove your strength. You have already shown it. Your responsibility is not to suffer quietly. Your responsibility is to survive loudly, confidently, and boldly. You need to build a personalized transition plan. You need to track your symptoms and patterns. You need to communicate early and honestly. And I want to highlight this and underline it boldly. Communicate, communicate, communicate until this is embedded in every corner of the workplace. We need to create networks of support. You need to honor your energy levels, and you need to lead yourself with compassion. Self-leadership is not self-sacrifice. It is self-preservation. And this is what you need to embrace at whatever cost. And as I close, I want to say this. Menopause should never be a career-ending stage. It should never be a source of shame. It should never cost an organization its most valuable leaders. And it should never silence the women who have carried institutions through crisis, transition, and transformation. This is our moment to choose differently. And I must congratulate Asia, because by placing this conversation at the center of Knowledge Management Week, you have sent a powerful message. And that message is, women's well-being is a knowledge asset. Human experience is a leadership resource. And menopause belongs in the boardroom. It belongs in the boardroom and not in the shadows. So we need to build workplaces where women can thrive through every season of their lives. We need to build organizations where humanity and productivity reinforces each other. And we need to break the silence. And I repeat it loudly, we need to break the silence. And in breaking the silence, we need to replace it with understanding. We need to replace it with dignity. We need to replace it with strategy. And most importantly, we need to replace it with respect. So we need to normalize conversations. We need to build inclusive systems. We need to honor lived experiences. And we need to recognize senior women as strategic assets. So we need, ladies and gentlemen, to keep this conversation alive long after today. And we need to shine a spotlight on this beautiful transition of life. And remember that it's affecting women who are the biggest assets in any organization at the height of their career excellence. And I thank you very much for that.
Wow, Mrs. Kalelegile, thank you, thank you, thank you. As you can see, what a powerful, bold talk. Of course, all the presenters have just been excellent towards us today. And we end on a note like this, motivated, inspired, and encouraged. Thank you, Mrs. Kalelegile. I sincerely must apologize to you and Mr. Kalelegile for the pronunciation. Please accept my apology. I got to apologize to you, and please convey my apology to Nomzan and the colleagues. Colleagues, there it is. What a lovely talk. I wish we would have more time to continue, colleagues, but by a show of hands, let's just get into a few questions. We're happy. You're more than welcome, colleagues, to please just raise your hand or pop your question within our chat box.
I see there's a hand from Noloyiso.
Thank you, Mrs. Walingo. I didn't see that. Please go ahead.
Thanks. Thanks so much. All these presenters, must be here for day and night. We can sit and listen here. Yeah, there's a lot of
true.
learning going on here. Yeah. But anyway, no, thanks so much, Miss Gilegakai. That was very insightful. It's quite impressive how we are venturing into this topic. I'm observing the growth of this topic in engagements, and it's also in leadership seminars, webinars, and all. It means the awareness is growing, and I think that we are doing a good job making sure that there's some awareness that's growing around this, so that, like you said, to destigmatize, to appreciate nature. I mean, it's nature. We are growing. People are growing. So we need to appreciate that nature comes with it. We need to move. Just a little story. In the Middle East, somewhere in the country I'll mention, it goes with recognition of women or different genders in the workplace, to an extent that such natural things are also accommodated and acknowledged, appreciated as existing. I remember this country I will mention that I think they're still very far. To an extent, to say that they, maybe you know it, there's no demarcation of toilets, it's just toilets in the workplace. And if you were to say, but where are the ladies' ones? The answer is, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? So it means to talk about menopause and other issues that affect women then is out of question. But just to simplify what you are saying, colleagues, we can make simple examples as, in a workplace, for instance, we are ordering air conditioners, and a procurement process is just not moving. Someone is sitting on a paper, and we know that one of the things that women need at that time is to make sure that they sit comfortably in cool environments. So it can go that far. When you sit on a paper, if let's say you're a procurement officer, you sitting on a paperwork, or you are cutting budget as whatever that would go in line with offering a comfortable working environment, cool environments, windows or no windows in offices, water or no water, and so on. It must be known that there is an effect of women who are undergoing this process that has just been presented. And so lastly, I'm also a gender equality contact person for this department in terms of the environmental sector. And a question I deal with a lot is when we present how climate change affects women disproportionately compared to men, women and children, especially pregnant women, and just women in general. And the moment you finish presenting, the first thing that comes to people's mind, and unfortunately the male species, is, what's so special about women? Why do you think they're better than us? Why do you think they are more affected and we are not? And the reasons have been laid, even if you've laid the reasons bare and clearly, that is because of ABC, and even just naturally. So now you must imagine that if those are the questions that we are having, whereby the male species are questioning, and I'm not accusing them, please don't get me wrong, colleagues, I'm not attacking anyone, but I'm just adding to the awareness raising we've just had now. Now it can progress to a point of saying, why do you think they deserve this and better and blah, blah, blah? If we need to develop such understanding just from the basic concepts, because definitely we will always be different. The nature makes us different, such as a topic that has just been presented by Tony this morning. So I thought I would just add that part. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Ms. Carnegie.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
much, Noloyiso. Can I continue?
Yes, please go ahead.
Fantastic. I see there's also a question from Untombenhle. My question is how this can be incorporated into HR departments and form part of orientation, as women are labeled as moody and there's a stigma of them not being leaders, where else it is a lack of understanding. Ntombenhle, that's a very, very good question. Just like we incorporate things on wellness, health and wellness, the menopause is also part of health and wellness, and therefore it needs to be incorporated into those policies. And more than anything, what I find is that we need to break the silence as women. We need to start speaking about this without being apologetic about it, without being embarrassed about it. The minute that we accept this as a beautiful natural transition of life, the better it will be. And the more we talk about it and break the silence, the more people are going to have to listen, and the more that it will be incorporated into policies. But more than anything, what we need to be doing is also we need to be educating not just men, by the way, because what I'm finding is that even our own women find it difficult to understand this transition, and therefore we need to educate in the workplace so that people understand this natural progression of life. I cannot highlight that more than enough. It is a natural progression of life. It's not a disability. It has its impact in terms of wellness, and therefore it needs to be treated as such, a health and wellness issue. Thank you. I also see there's a hand from Umakosi. Makosi?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, colleagues. I just want to appreciate the presentation to the senior and appreciate our knowledge management unit for bringing us such a presentation, more especially to have it in a platform where you have males and females and you have young ladies as well, because for people really who are still young, even if they are ladies, they won't understand this topic. And then when you have accepted it as a grown woman, when you talk about it, when it's hot, Lois was saying, for the past 3-4 years, we haven't had proper air conditioning in our offices. And it's very difficult during meetings. And when you say to them, guys, for us who are menopausal, we cannot take this anymore, you see that your male counterparts will be uncomfortable. Even the young ladies will be uncomfortable if you just speak up like that. So I just appreciate that at this platform, it can be discussed so that we all understand that it's a natural process and nothing else other than that. Everyone just needs to bear with us and understand, and for us to understand ourselves as well and understand our bodies and understand that there are going to be changes, but the show must still go on. So we just use those strategies that you've given us. Thank you so much for this presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Makosi. That is so true. And we need to all be advocates. So the more we speak about it, the more it's going to be understood. So I challenge you also to take on the baiting and start speaking about it and be as loud and bold as possible. Mbali?
Thank you so much to the facilitator and to you, Ms. Galelegile. I'm actually standing up right now on behalf of all the women in the department, those that are on perimenopause and those that are on full menopause. Colleagues, you are not alone. You know me, I always am one of those that advocate for the well-being of employees in the department. But this has affected me personally to a point that I, at some point, thought I was dying. I thought I was truly sick. If it wasn't for my doctors, I wouldn't have known that this is part of the menopausal journey. So what has been shared today by Ms. Galelegile, particularly when it comes to the fatigue, the forgetfulness, it is one of the areas that is affecting us a lot. Colleagues, you are presenting and you lose your train of thoughts. You don't remember the names. You don't remember the next word you were going to use. It is becoming so embarrassing in some instances. And if you don't indicate to your peers or whoever is in the room that you are in a situation, they will never understand. And you need to start teaching them as you go along. The team within ERSP, within my component, they know that at some point I I will be so frustrated that all I want is to rip my hair off, is to scream. I'll walk into one of the leadership's office and I'll just start shouting, because I want to take it out. And when I'm done, I'll say, I am so sorry. This was this is how it's been, this has been this and that. So colleagues, all I'm saying is, let us advocate for this. Let's talk about menopause. And again, this was a first conversation of many, particularly on this topic. We had at some point shared the very similar sentiment of bringing someone who is knowledgeable on a topic, particularly for MENCO and also for our male counterparts. This topic is not only affecting women, it is affecting our men in the workplace, and they'll also learn so that they can take it back home. We have Ms. Kalelegile as our partner. She is within our entity. She has also written a book, which I will encourage ladies to look into, and you men, you can buy it for yourselves. You need to learn about this subject matter. The book is called Reflection, a Blueprint for Social Change. We will share the details as well. Please support this. This is one of our own, and I will encourage you to do so while we continue learning. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Kalelegile.
Wow, Mbali, I am honestly humbled and honored, and I couldn't agree with you more. We really need to speak about this. This is not a shame, it's a transition. And you are right. As I'm going deeper into understanding this journey, I'm finding that also men suffer from menopause. Go Google it, go read more about it, find out what it is about. So as I said, this is not just a personal thing, it's also a workplace imperative that needs to be looked into. And we need to really, really start incorporating it as part of our policies, because it's affecting everyone at their prime and at a stage where they are contributing significantly into the workplace. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Ms. Kalelegile. I really appreciate it. Colleagues, I hope we've covered all questions in our chat box, and of course, those that were audible. In keeping with how the previous sessions have been conducted, we do have a question. This is our last and final question. And again, please, it's interactive, colleagues, so you can either raise your hand in terms of your response or perhaps pop your answer in the chat box. I will call on your expertise in this regard as well, Ms. Kalelegile, to assist me. I will be asking this question, and the question goes as follows. Which of the following are considered the key resilience pillars for professionals in the workplace? The question is, which of the following are considered the key resilience pillars for professionals in the workplace? There are three options. Option A is self-awareness, self-management, and support systems. Or B, technical skills, networking, and time management. And lastly, C, or leadership, creativity, and innovation. I will post the question in the chat box. If you can please assist me, Ms. Kalelegile, with the correct answer, because there is one right answer, or you may just elaborate on it further. Over to you, colleagues. Thank you. Ms. Kalelegile, if you can assist me, we've just got answers coming in as possible.
I can see that people were listening attentively. Yes, I don't know how you're going to work this one out, because all the answers that have been tapped on the chat box are correct. It is A.
At the same time.
All at the same time. It's A.
100% correct. Thank you so much, Ms. Kalelegile. Perhaps in all fairness, all are correct, colleagues. Can we go for Zanele Linda? Zanele Linda's one came in right on top. even though they're all in at the same time. Are you happy with that, Ms. Kalalekile and Leafy?
Yeah. Yes, I'm happy with that. And just for a good cause, Unolwazi at least, so that she also comes out, she's gonna get a free copy of my book.
Wow, wow, look at that, look at that. Thank you so much, man. Please just post your details in our chat group. And colleagues, thank you so much, man. And once again, our sincere gratitude goes out to you, Ms. Kalalekile. Really informative and insightful, and we're so grateful. We do have one more closing remark, and that is from Ms. Nondomiso. Ms. Nondomiso, over to you.
Greetings, Chair. Greetings to the colleagues. All protocol observed. Thank you so much for quite an impactful and knowledge-packed session this morning. I think I speak for most of the attendees as to say we're empowered with quite a lot of knowledge that we have benefited from this morning. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, but I just thought, Chair, there are some key nuggets that we can all take away when we go back to our desks. How do we then orientate ourselves from what we've been capacitated with, the season that we find ourselves in, and what does it all mean, more particularly for the department that is right at the center of driving economic development within this province that is very much in need of it. Like to express sincere gratitude to all our presenters and the time they've taken to indulge all of us. Maybe, Chair, just to get straight into it, we are gathered truly at a remarkable season wherein we're hosting the Knowledge Management Week at a historic moment when, for the very first time, the G20 Summit convenes on African soil, more particularly in South Africa. This milestone is not only a triumph for our nation, but a significant stride for the global South in asserting its place within the global economy. It signals a deliberate and strategic effort to move beyond traditional role of supplying raw materials towards building strengthened net trade value and shaping a more equitable global order. In placing the simple GDP framework that says GDP is equal to the consumer, investment, government spending, which all collectively define the domestic economy, and therein at the foreign sector that talks to your net trade value. And as we saw in the trace that we had from our colleagues at Trade and Investment, we are currently sitting in the last financial year at a significant deficit of 95.97 million with our G20 counterparts. The G20 Summit provides a vital platform in addressing shared challenges in developing economies, challenges that resonate deeply with South Africa, where our debt to GDP currently sitting at 77%, which means every rand we make, 70 cents of it goes towards servicing debt. The exorbitant borrowing costs thereof, the unemployment rate sitting at 32.9%, which is triple or quadruple in some when you look at it in comparison to some other countries, and the main plights to our economy that includes poverty, our Gini coefficient that is sitting as 0.67, reflecting persistent inequality within our country. So never before has there been a great urgency to lay down the foundations of transformative infrastructure. This includes the investments and the approaches or initiatives thereof towards the logistics sector, agro-processing, data centers, renewable energy, green technology, alongside the establishment of project preparation facilities, such as the one that is pioneered by the DBSA currently. We need more of these initiatives so that we encourage more of our people to actively participate in the economy and further promote the informal sector, because there's so much fiscal revenue that is lost within the informal economy. But because of the red tape that exists in many businesses, SMEs and entrepreneurs to enter the informal sector, it deters them from wanting to form part of the formal economy, and it is our responsibility to look into what those red tapes are. And therein, the department is commended in its proactive red tape reduction initiative, which is already creating or a significant stride to creating enabling environment for investors and entrepreneurs into KwaZulu-Natal. It is a critical research tool that should form the basis of our pursuits as officials and as a national, provincial, and local government in that, given the persistent plights of our economy and within its and it be a collective effort to re-establish KZN as the preferred destination for direct and indirect investment. There's an urgent call for us to mobilize on the international market, secure prime positioning amid the ongoing geopolitical shift by leveraging on the themes that came across from the G20 multilateralism, so we can elevate our participation to preferential trade agreement level within the global economy. Yet this must be pursued with intelligent contextualization, wherein when we do benchmarking against global best practice, we must ensure that we progressively address the structural challenges that constrain our economy as a province. Touching on the keynotes address that we received this morning, it's quite significant to take away that strengthening of institutional memory is quite critical from a research point and knowledge management perspective. We must harvest and preserve key insights to build robust institutional memory that informs future planning and ensure long-term benefit. The knowledge management challenges that exist within our department, the loss of research as transit knowledge undermines evidence-based planning and decision-making, weakening our ability to respond effectively to socioeconomic demands within our province. From knowledge to development, instructional knowledge and technical expertise must be translated into tangible, sustainable development outcomes that advance the growth trajectory of KZN. We must attend to the knowledge management gaps, wherein weaknesses in knowledge management results in loss of productivity, missed opportunities, ultimately constraining our capacity to address the pressing challenges of our economy. The alignment to ESG principles, our mandate to drive socioeconomic development must be executed in alignment with environmental, social, and governance standards, ensuring responsible and sustainable growth. The knowledge management can be seen as the backbone of resilience. Knowledge management is the backbone of institutional resilience, operational efficiency. It accelerates competitiveness and positions KwaZulu-Natal as an exemplar in the global knowledge economy. Those are key nuggets that are taken by our Chief Director, Mr. Cosmos, this morning. Moving on to the MEC, who is requesting us to sort strategic alignment to the Treasury's knowledge management framework, lay the solid foundations of building a knowledge management system that is consistent, impactful, measurable, and essential to drive sustainable outcomes. We must continue to identify critical knowledge management areas and sharpen our focus and ensure relevant in addressing evolving challenges within the KZN landscape. Institutional memory, harvesting and preserving key insights will strengthen institutional memory, safeguarding knowledge for the benefit of future generations. In ensuring strategic impact, knowledge management must be positioned as a strategic lever guiding decision-making and shaping the province developmental trajectory. The culture of learning must be cultivated across institutions, so we will embed adaptability, innovation, and resilience. Transformative development by harnessing knowledge capital, KwaZulu-Natal can lead transformative economic development and accelerate its competitiveness in the global economy. So they were quite informative insights that we received. Moving on to Dr. Konjelwayo, wherein we learned the importance of research in our capacity is dependent on the quality of the research we engage in and the output thereof. Reliability of our data then becomes critical, key pillar in reviewing and updating our strategies. Research will give us everything we need to know and what we need to prepare the ground to be impactful in terms of economic growth and transformation. Any initiative that we originate outside research will not drive positive impact and change. Innovation is a critical driver of economic development, and research sets the foundation for this pursuit. Moving on to what we've learned from Mr. Dlamini, it is quite critical to know where we stand as a province, and I think colleagues will agree that the status quo requires us to be more intentional on how we participate in the global economy. It is commendable to see that there is a country targeting strategy that is already under approval processes, which I think will be quite key in repositioning ourselves, not just as a province, as a country as well, during the critical geopolitical shifts. As we heard that there's quite a lot of our exports that, in terms of citrus, that go to the US, and we know what is happening with the tariffs by President Trump. So it requires us to be agile in terms of engaging the G20 partners that we have and redirecting our focus into other regions. One happens to be in Brazil not so long ago, where we were able to learn how Brazil started repositioning itself in terms of redirecting its trade to other regions as this tariff increases was starting. Before it even set in full motion, Brazil had already positioned itself. And as part of the address, as a delegation that were there from SA, we asked, why don't we maximize on our Global South partners? Why aren't we being very intentional and vocal about it? It seems as if the strides that we are taking other countries across the line, it seems we are very much casual about it, and we can be very intentional and graduate to the level of preferential trade agreements, the framework as adopted by Chile as well. We got the same sentiment when we crossed over to the country in Chile. I will be biased, program director, into saying the presentation by Ms. Galelegile was quite a very impactful one. Not to say others weren't, but it's quite a sentimental one. And as you've heard from delegates in attendance to this session, it is there's quite a lot of silence around this topic, and there's a need to put it on center stage. And we applaud the organizers of this Knowledge Management Week to put such a critical topic into the center stage. We did learn on many calls that need to take center stage in the professional environment, like the call for a humane and understanding approach towards women in menopause, and eliminate the current culture of silence towards it. Adopt a people-centered system characterized by safe dialogue, knowledge hubs, informed and knowledge-centered supervision and management, and empathetic leadership. There's a need for resilience that is received to institutional support for women not to be forced to survive in silence, but to receive the institutional support they need to thrive when undergoing through menopause and other ills as well that face women and men for that matter. Workflows that honor energy patterns, coping tools that replace denial tools, that are currently in the system, digital systems that will step in during conjunctive glitches, embed gender and wellness in knowledge management frameworks. So I think you'll agree, Program Director, that we had quite an impactful morning from all the addresses that we got from our presenters. We'd like to personally thank you for taking your time to prepare the presentations, to come and address the delegation that is in attendance, and the knowledge sharing that has come through in this knowledge management week on day one. We'd like to applaud the organizers as well. We'd like to applaud you as yourself, facilitator, for keeping us on time, keeping us engaging and impactful. So thank you very, very much. I believe we will all see each other tomorrow. We wish and hope colleagues will still be in attendance and be with us for the rest of the week. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nolomiso Mazula. Well articulated and presented, and we're so grateful to all of our speakers, presenters. Your time is very much valuable. We're grateful for it. and what a start to our week of knowledge management. From my side, I'm saying thank you once again to our colleagues. We look forward to tomorrow's session, and yeah, thank you for now. Anything further from your side, Mbali?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can close the session, colleagues, until tomorrow. Take care and have a lovely afternoon further.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.